After a year with limited numbers, the Gate River Run is back to full strength, and then some. The National Championship 15K remains one of the highlight races on the schedule for elite runners across the nation. And for locals, it's the center stage of the road race calendar. The Gate can be enjoyed in many ways. For elite runners, it's a test of will and tactical skill. Stay in touch with the leaders, endure the Green Monster, then try to kick your way to the National Championship. Or like Emily Sisson did last year, start fast and never look back. Her victory at the Gate River Run propelled her to the Olympic 10,000-meter finals. For competitive local runners, the Gate serves as the annual litmus test for distance running. How did you spend your previous year? Did you get better? Or will the monster eat you alive? For thousands of others, it's a chance to enjoy 9.3 miles along the roads of our city. A physical challenge? Yes, but also a chance to socialize and make memories. And finally, for those who watch, some from front yards and neighborhoods, and the tens of thousands who will watch us today on Channel 4, it's the largest annual celebration of running in our region. It's the 45th Gate River Run, right here on Channel 4. And there is the start for the Gate River Run. Last year, because of COVID precautions, there were 2 starting lines. This year, we're back to normal as we are less than half an hour away from the start of the biggest race in Jacksonville and the National Championship 15K. The race will weave through downtown, over the Main Street Bridge, and into San Marco. You're looking at Justin Barney and Mike Ryan there, about the halfway point at Watley Park, where the runners will turn toward Atlantic Boulevard and then on to St. Nicholas. And then to the Hart Bridge, the Green Monster, where the contenders are separated from the pretenders. This is what it looked like last year, and where a championship can be won or lost, or maybe just a good place to stop for a selfie. We have you covered all around the 9.3-mile course from the starting line, where Lauren Verno and 5-time First Coast Cup winner Julie Stackhauser set up, to San Marco, where you saw Justin Barney, the former Jaguars head athletic trainer Mike Ryan, keeping an eye on things. And then to the top of the Green Monster, where Jamal St. Cyr finds himself once again this year. And here in studio with me, it's 1996 U.S. Olympian Keith Brantley, back for another call of the race this year. Keith, this is one of my favorite days of the year, and it truly is not only a celebration for the Jacksonville running community, but it's a great community event in our city.
Absolutely. Largest 15K in America, most competitive 15K in America. It's going to be an exciting race. Great
field. We'll get into that here in just a bit. But let's take a closer look right now at the course map. This is where the runners will be heading out, and we'll start downtown there at the fairgrounds. You can see at the top of the screen, straight down Duval Street and then a little bit of a loop. In past years, at some point, sometimes they ran down Bay Street. This year and in the last several years, it's been a shot down Duval and then over that Main Street Bridge. Keith, take us through sort of the mentality of these elite runners as they go through downtown Jacksonville and approach that first bridge.
Well, you know, my thought is always take this race and put it into thirds. It's easy to think about a 5K, race, but when you have 3 5Ks in a row, you've got to break a big race like this up. So it's really important to kind of pace yourself early on, even if you're an elite runner.
No doubt about it. Of course, you saw the rest of the way here. The big change this year is at the finish, and there it is. Instead of coming down off the Hart Bridge and going north around the stadium, you'll come down onto Gator Bowl Boulevard and then a sharp right turn in the last, say, 150 yards of this race. That's a change and not something that a lot of distance runners are used to, making those hard turns at the end of a race.
Absolutely not. And I think this is going to really play into the tactics toward the end, because in my opinion, if you don't have the race sewed up by then, it's a little tricky to try to guarantee to make a right-hand turn and sprint at the finish.
And there is the finish line. You can see it right next to Daly's Place, right along if you're used to going into Gate 1 at the stadium in the southwest corner of TIAA Bank Field. You'll see the large area there of sort of the concrete area. Usually on game days, that's where you'll see the TV truck set up. So that's where the finish will come. And when you have over 12,000 runners, you have to have a system to get everybody out there on the course. You can't just do it all at the same time. So they use a wave system. Here's what that looks like. The elite women going off at 7:54. Then the first run for the elite men and the top local runners at 8 o'clock. The gold bibs you'll see under numbers 200. Those are the elite runners in the area, and some of the top local runners as well. Blue, green, blue, red, green, orange, and black. And if you have those those are seeded times based on what you've done in other races. Could be a 5K, could be a 10K, half marathon, you name it. But you had to earn your way in to that 8 o'clock group.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's a coveted bib to be in that first group there.
No doubt about it. And they'll be rolling out after that as well. There is a lot we need to get to. Let's first find out what we're going to have in terms of what's going on here out on the course. Danielle Giuliano, when I walked out of the house this morning, it hit me in a hurry. It is a foggy morning in Jacksonville.
Oh yeah, definitely a foggy morning. Now when you're on the ground, it won't look too much, but when they go over those bridges, that'll be a different story. Here's a look over our stadium camera. You can see all the cars lining up. They're going to be setting up just down there at the finish line. A quarter-mile of visibility for the downtown area, Colt. That is pretty low, and it's not just there. It's really across the whole Northeast Florida region. The temperatures are in the low 60s, so a brisk start, and they'll steadily warm into the 70s when they end the race. And taking a look at these wind speeds, I know winds last year were a big factor with this race, especially going over the Green Monster at the end. Right now, if we're taking a look at the two closest points there to the downtown area, it's around 3 to 6 miles per hour. So not even close to the winds we saw last year. So that is some good news. Winds aren't expected to pick up today until later on in the afternoon. So that is good for those runners early on this morning. And if we take a look at what we're expecting here, by 8 a.m. 61 degrees when they kick start, by 9 a.m. 64, and by 10 a.m. 72 degrees, and the sun progressively coming out throughout the race, Cole.
Something to be keeping an eye on for sure. A lot of folks who are going to be going over the Hart Bridge are going to be happy that it won't be quite as windy as it was a year ago. We are less than 20 minutes away from the elite women's start of the Gate River Run. They'll be racing for the National Championship 15K. We're less than 25 minutes away from the start for the elite men and the top local runners. When we come back, we check in with Lauren Verno and Julie Stackhouse at the start line. Stick around. Our coverage of the 45th Gate River Run is straight ahead here on Channel 4, News4Jax.com, and News4Jax Plus. We are just about 15 minutes away from the start of the elite women, the first group to go off. Nerves have to be building right now for the Gate River Run. Let's check in at the start line. Lauren Verno is there with someone who was lined up with those elite women as we welcome back Julie Stackhouse to our coverage. Ladies.
Guys, this is my first Gate River Run, and I can tell you that I don't know who's more excited, Julie, who's done this race multiple times, or me just in awe of these people. Julie, I'm assuming these are the elite men coming out right now?
Yes, we have the elite women heading to the start line, and the elite men are just now walking out.
All right, tell me what you're seeing. Listen, Julie got chills when the elite women came out because these women are so strong. I mean, what are they facing? What are they doing? What's going through their mind?
Yeah, right now they're just in their final mental prep stages. So, you know, some of them have seen this course before. Others have only studied the course map. So they're just running through that course one last time in their heads, doing their final runouts.
I mean, what is going through your head right now?
I mean, there's a national championship on the line. So, you know, that's just, that's what they work so hard for.
I can't even imagine. Riley, I do want you to pan one more time because, again, these elite racers, they really just come out at the last minute and then they warm up, and that's what they're doing. They're going back and forth. And Julie was telling me, Julie, they do about 2 miles before this just to warm up?
Yeah, probably about 2 miles.
Wow. All right, guys, we are going to send it back to you for right now, but we're going to sit here at the starting line, and as soon as that race starts, we're going to bring it to you. Cole?
All right, Lauren, thank you so much. Lauren's first Gate River Run. She ran the Ortega River Run last week.
Fantastic.
I completed it. Running may have been more than I actually did, but she's feeling that race energy, that those pre-race butterflies to start to build, not only for the competitors, but at a race of this size. Boy, that's they get it going pretty good down there.
You know, having run and won several national championships, it is truly, you know, an event that is spectacular for the athletes, but it's great for the community as well.
It is, and the excitement for runners at every level is palpable when you're down there at the start line. All right, more coverage of the 45th Gate River Run is coming up. We'll keep an eye on how things look around the course. Straight ahead, the elite women go off in 11 minutes. Not too long after that, they'll be heading over the Main Street Bridge. Our coverage of the 45th Gate River Run continues here on Channel 4. Welcome back to our coverage of the Gate River Run. You see the adaptive athletes, wheelchair racers, ready to get started at the start line of the Gate River Run. You know, I wrote this week that this race is defined by three things. One is the elite field that comes to compete for the national championships. Two, the community support and involvement that we see every year. And then three, Keith, of course, is the course itself, highlighted by one thing.
One thing, the green monster.
The green monster, the Hart Bridge. You have some advice, Keith, for runners running the Hart Bridge. What do you tell them?
Well, you know, what I've always said is don't build your entire event, your entire race around that 3 to 7 minutes that you're crawling up the Hart Bridge. Enjoy it. You know, it's the only race in America that has a bridge that size. So enjoy that part of it. Don't look at it as a bad thing.
Last year, Clayton Young, the eventual men's champion, said he was thinking about that bridge from before the start of the race. It worked out for him. He's not in this year's race, had to pull out this week because of an injury. Last year, the winds were brutal atop the Hart Bridge. Let's see how they are right now. Jamal Saint's here on top of the Green Monster. Jamal, how is it this year?
Look, Cole, this is the third year that I've been up here on top of the Hart Bridge, and these are the best conditions that I've seen. It is foggy, though. Take a look at this. You can normally see TIAA Bank Field in the distance, but just a very foggy view of the Jacksonville skyline from up here. But outside of that, things are very calm. Last year, this was definitely a huge obstacle as runners were kind of making their way up this bridge. The wind was beating them right in the face last year. I could see the heartbreak on runners' faces every time one of those almost 20+ mile per hour gusts hit them. Some runners were even blowing in the wind as they tried to kind of make their way up last year. This year, very calm. They can't see much because of the fog, but there's enough that they know exactly where they're going. And, you know, the big change this year is that as they head down, the new ramps are open, so there is going to be a turn. So it's going to look a little bit different as they head toward that finish line. But outside of that, things look very calm or easy when it comes to how difficult the Green Monster can be. Cole, Keith?
All right, Jamal, we'll be keeping a close eye on things at the top of the Green Monster today. We are rapidly approaching the start. When we come back, the starting gun will fire, and we will get the 45th edition of the Gate River Run underway. It's almost race time here on Channel 4, News4Jax.com, and News4Jax Plus. Stick around. Welcome back to Channel 4's special live coverage of the 45th Gate River Run. Cole Pepper here with former Olympian Keith Brantley. Hey, once an Olympian, always Olympian. No such thing as a former Olympian, is there?
No such thing as a former Olympian. You can reference the year, but...
Or a marathoner.
Yeah, exactly.
Once a marathoner, always a marathoner, and he is both. All right, let's take a look at the runners who are going to contend for the national title today. And I want to take a closer look at the women first, Keith, because this is a field that really is dominated by one name, and that's Emily. 3 runners, all named Emily, who will be key to keep an eye on today, including Emily Sisson, the defending champion, who is back to defend her title. What a race she had last year as she went out fast and never looked back.
Absolutely, and that's a brave thing to do on a course like this, and especially with that wind. I mean, she knew she was in shape and she was ready to roll.
The other Emily, one of the 2 other Emilys, is Emily Durgan. 27-year-old was 4th at the United States 10K cross-country championships in San Diego in January, finished 3rd at the Gate River Run last year. She is certainly one to watch today.
Absolutely. You know, cross-country really sets you up well for this type of course. This is not an easy course, and it's like a 15K cross-country race.
And then Emily Infield, the 3rd Emily. She was the runner-up at the Gate River Run in 2017 and ran in the 10,000 meters in the 2016 Olympics in Rio. So those 3 Emilys, and then the other 2 names we should point out of the non-Emily persuasion is Nell Rojas. This is a veteran runner, 34 years old. She knows the ropes. She was 17th at the U.S. Olympic 10,000 meter trials this year, but certainly has the legs to kick at the end.
And great DNA too. Her dad, Rick Rojas, was a world-class runner back in the 70s and 80s, and just a fantastic athlete.
And finally, Sarah Pagano, Spags as she's known by her friends, ran her first marathon at Chicago in October and is coming off a 2nd place finish at the Vegas Half Marathon last year. When you talk about the start of this race, how these runners go out early can really set the tone. We are just seconds away from the start as you see the elite women here coming to the start line of the Gate River Run here in 2022. And let's listen for the command to start.
Runners, set, go! All right, there we go, they're elite women.
And there they go, off and running at the Gate River Run. Emily Sisson there at the front, bottom of your screen with the white top and the black shorts. And she is not quite as aggressive here at the very start as she was last year, but she is leading at the front of the pack here in the early stages. Last year she wore the very visible red shorts. Today, like most of these elite competitors, going with the black shorts, but you see her with the white top with a black and a red stripe on them. As somebody who has won this race, she's here with as the defending champion. What is Emily Sisson thinking here in the opening stages? She certainly has a strategy coming into this one.
Well, absolutely. You know, the first early miles, you want to just kind of get a feel of, you know, where you are in relation to the competitors. You want to get a good sense of how your warm-up is affecting your early pace. And this is just kind of like the test before the test.
You can see that elite field splitting sort of into two packs here in the opening mile with Sisson at the front. Emily Sisson has not run a competitive race since the Olympics when she finished 10th in the 10,000 meters in Tokyo. And she said that winning the gate last year was a huge confidence boost from her, showed her that she could lead from the front. Keith, what she did at the Olympic trials last year in the heat in Eugene, Oregon, one of the most impressive things I saw in all of sports last year. She dominated a field of in the Olympic trials. Maybe used up so much of it, it could have impacted her perhaps at the Olympics, but she was dominant at the Olympic trials.
Absolutely, and I think, you know, it's one race at a time. You know, you only get that one opportunity, and sometimes you have to lay it on the line, and I think this is an important test for her today, as well as how well she's going to bounce back.
As we have mentioned in the past, there is a reason for the 6-minute stagger between the women and the men going off in the elites. It's called the Equalizer bonus. And whoever crosses the finish line first, in addition to the first place prize money of $10,000, gains an extra $5,000. Last year, Emily Sisson was not challenged at all by Clayton Young or any of the men's contenders. And you see Sisson here right at the start. That is on the right, the start line, and you can see the massive humanity that is starting to build up there. Keith, as you know, if you're at the front of the pack right now, one of these elite men or one of the top local runners who's ready to get going, you can feel the surge of energy behind you right now.
It's not just the feeling inside. It's all the talking and the sounds and the smells and everything. And you know, it really is something. If you've never experienced this, you know, get out there and just try to walk the race sometime. It really is an experience. It's very inspiring.
Yeah, and the starting gate moves all the way back down and into the parking lot at the stadium. That is right next to the start line. There is positioned right next to the fairgrounds area. And again, the elite women runners here in the opening mile of the race. And Emily Sisson right at the front of the pack, the defending champion, trying to win yet again. The men will go off here in just a bit, and there will be a new champion this year because Clayton Young, the defending champ, is out, had to pull out this week because of the combination of an Achilles injury as well as the after effects of COVID that he had earlier last season. So we'll see how it all plays out. The men go off in just a moment. Our coverage of the 45th Gate River Run continues right after this. You're watching continuing coverage of the Gate River Run on WJXT Channel 4. And there is the start line for the Gate River Run with the men ready to get going here in just moments. In addition to the men's elites, it'll also be the top local runners who have qualified based on their times. And again, on the left side is the lead pack for the elite women, and Emily Sisson right at the front of the field again. And if we can get a closer look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, looks like 6 runners here in this lead pack. You would expect that this group may get a little fractured as the race goes on. But again, Emily Sisson, our pick to win, we think she is the favorite in this field. We'll be keeping a close eye on her. And we're about ready for the elite men to get going. And they're off. The elite men and then all the top local runners. The first wave is underway at the Gate River Run. And we'll see how the race develops here in the early stages for the men. Let's talk about some of the top contenders on the men's side this year. As we mentioned, Clayton Young is not in, but one of the all-time great distance runners in American history is running this race for the first time. That is Galen Rupp. His list of accomplishments are long and impressive when you talk about a guy who you can make the case is on the Mount Rushmore of distance runners in the history of USA Track.
Cole, you said it. I mean, we were talking earlier. I mean, go back to as far as 2007 when he ran in his first World Championship final. I don't know if he was 12 years old or not, but I mean, he was. It's just incredible. Eight World Championship finals in his career.
He's been in 4 Olympics. Won a silver in 2012 in London in the 10,000 meters. Was a bronze medalist in Rio in 2016 at the marathon. Still holds the American record in the 10,000 meters. And last year in the Olympics in Tokyo, Sapporo, where the marathon was run, he was right there with the great Eliud Kipchoge all the way through to the last 7 miles. Wound up finishing in the top 10 in the Olympic marathon. But he is one to watch for sure. And this is a larger pack. There are more elite men in this field by twice as many, 27 elite women, 54 elite men this year. Not by design, just sort of the way it happened. So we'll see if Galen Rupp can emerge from this very large lead pack. You wouldn't expect there to be too much of a stretching out of this lead pack in the early stages here because of the depth of the men's field.
Absolutely. So it is a very deep field, especially in the top 10. You know, if you take out Galen Rupp, this was probably going to be a very, very competitive race after that. You know, but certainly with Galen putting the hammer down kind of early on, I think he's going to fracture the field pretty quickly.
And you see the elite women on the left side have just come over the Main Street Bridge. Emily Sisson there on the left, just left of the middle line, running among the leaders for this race. And some of the other notables on the men's side, we should mention there are some former champions, some former winners of this race who are in the field, including former 2-time winner Leonard Career, who won in 2017 and 2018, and the 2016 Gate River Run champion Stanley Kebeni is in the field as well. The record for this race, for both the men and the women, are the American records in the 15K. Shalane Flanagan for the women ran 47 flat. Todd Williams in 1995 ran 42.22. Weather conditions would have to be perfect, you would think, for somebody to equal those feats today.
Well, you know, we thought that last year, and Emily Sisson was you know, absolutely was very strong, but again, with the wind, it really slowed things down. I think the temperatures are going to have a kind of a difficult effect on the runners this year. I think it's not only is it the temperature going to be into the, let's say, mid-60s before they finish, I think it's also a little more humid than I thought it was going to be originally. I thought it was going to be in the 65% range. I think it's a little more humid today.
Now, last year, Emily Sisson ran the 5th fastest time for a woman in history. As you see the runners coming down across the Main Street Bridge, this are some of the elite women, the second tier of those elite women who are starting to come across the Main Street Bridge right now. And you see the fog still hanging over the top. And once again, the next wave will be going off here in just over a minute. The second wave of runners will be leaving. Every 5 minutes, they leave from the start area. For some, just getting to the start line might take them a couple of minutes because of the number of people in front of them, depending on where they're lined up here at the Gate River Run. And we'll continue to follow some of these. And this group, again, still a group of what I would call maybe not flat-out racers, although the first guy's going out hot. These are runners who run some 5Ks. You see the lower left, a runner who always
looks like
has the Forrest Gump look. We see him at a lot of local races around, 5Ks and 10Ks. And these are folks who may be running and expecting to run something in a 9-minute mile pace over the course of the 9.3 miles.
Absolutely. And I think, some of these athletes, they've trained for the entire year from last year's race. So this is, an opportunity for them to maybe run a personal best again and really put down a good time.
And again, you see the lead pack there on the left, led by Emily Sisson for the women. And we will get you updated on the progress of this race. We are just underway with the 45th Gate River Run. Emily Sisson leading the women's pack down into the South Bank area. You see the men heading toward the Main Street Bridge right now, making a turn and heading across the river for the first time. More to come. Our coverage of the Gate River Run continues right here on Channel 4. There is the Main Street Bridge, still with fog hanging around downtown, as we are just over 8 minutes into the main field. 6 minutes more than that for the women, and you can see the three Emilys at the front of the pack here for the women on your left, including Emily Sisson, the defending champ, who is out front, leading Emily Durgan and Emily infield. On the right, it's the men's group. Andy Wacker is leading the way for the men right now, former University of Colorado runner, guy who runs a lot of trail races, and he has taken the early lead by a couple of strides here over a large pack of followers in the men's competition. And we will keep a close eye on how things play out here over the course of the rest of the race. You see Emily Sisson glancing down at her watch, checking her pace to see how things are playing out here in the early stages. Again, Sisson, our favorite, our pick, the most accomplished on this course in the women's field, the only defending, only former champion in this field. So we'll see how it all plays out. Let's head back to the start line where Lauren Verno is standing by with somebody who's crossed that finish line quite a few times in this race. That is Julie Stackhouse.
Guys, it is hard to conceptualize 13,000 runners, but when you watch people just flowing and flowing, I mean, we're how far into the race, and there's still more people lined up waiting to go. How do you compare the feeling right now?
It's really neat, Lauren, because I don't usually get to see this. You know, I'm usually off and running the miles, so it's amazing. Just the feeling in the air of exactly what Cole said. It's a celebration today, and it's really fun to watch that.
You should see Julie's eyes, by the way, while she's standing here. They're like wide open because of the excitement. What does it mean to have people back?
It is definitely back, you know, and not just the runners, the fans, and I can only imagine what it's like out on the course today. It's just really exciting. You can tell people are just so happy to be out here today and racing in this great city.
Yeah. Does it make you a little jealous? Make you want to go back out?
I might start running, Lauren. If you're missing me on the next shot, I might be running.
Listen, if we're missing her, but I mean, look, we still have people coming. I mean, everyone is waving. And again, at this point, you know, these aren't the elite people. These are people out here in the community, and you were talking about this. It's so cool that these runners are running the same pavement as an Olympian.
Absolutely. That is just so unique to be sharing these streets with Olympians. But also, you know, we were talking about for so many people over the past year or so, this has been such a great outlet for them. So today really is a chance to just be out doing something that has been tough, but they've done things that are much tougher.
Yeah. All right. It is so exciting. All right. Everyone is having a great time. Yeah, we're going to send it back to you, Cole.
All right, Lauren, thank you so much. Well, as you can see, the runners who are now going off from the start line, not quite as fast as the earlier ones. Some, as you get deeper into the field, will be a little more social than most of the elite runners and the top local runners who will be going as well. The women have, in the elite women rather, have found their way past the 5K mark, and you can see on the left, Emily Sisson is starting to stretch the lead. On the right, it's Galen Rupp who has taken the front of the pack. You see Rupp there on the left of your right half of the screen. These two favorites in the race. Can they bring it home? And will we have a duel for the Equalizer bonus as we come down to the end? The Gate River Run continues. Our coverage rolls on as well right here on Channel 4. There are your leaders. Emily Sisson is on River Road, the defending women's champion, and she has once again stretched out a big lead. On the right, it's the men. starting to work their way through the San Marco area. And a pretty good pack led by Galen Rupp. Leonard Career, the two-time winner, is right there in that pack. And I believe I see Stanley Cabeni as well in that area. And as they work their way, you can see on the left for the women, Emily Sisson has a big gap to Emily Infield and Emily Durgan. The next two, they were the three we expected to be the top runners on the women's side. And Emily Sisson is taking hold of this race for the second straight year.
It really just shows how dominant she is. This is one of the best road racing fields for the women that I've seen in about 2 years. And she, again, is just basically thumbing her nose at them.
So we've talked about how these races sometimes can become runaways. Sometimes it becomes a tactical race. The men's race last year, very tactical, came down to a kick off the bottom of the Hart Bridge, won by Clayton Young. What are you seeing in terms of the men right now on the right side of your screen with Galen Rupp at the front?
I see respect, a lot of respect. I think at the end of the day, these guys understand what sort of horsepower he has underneath the hood. They're giving him a wide berth, but they're also waiting to see if it is real. And just leading a race doesn't mean you're going to win it.
All right, on the left side, that's Emily Sisson starting to make her way toward those two gentlemen. Justin Barney and Mike Ryan are at Watley Park in San Marco. Things are about to get busy for you two guys.
That's right, Cole. You know, we're standing in one of the most beautiful areas of one of my favorite areas of this race in historic San Marco. We're about 3 miles into this race, about 3.5 miles into the race, a third of the race down. And so many great scenes at the Gate River Run, the 45th running of this. Well, Mike, you've been in this race numerous times. You have some great stories to tell, including one that took place in this park right here. We've got a band going to our right, and just a great scene, a great story that you want to share with us today.
Exactly. In 2001, I was running. I took this turn. I'm doing a sub 6 mile pace. I feel good about myself. And then this older, gangly guy comes up beside me with this crazy arm motion, and the crowd gets excited for him, not for me. And I look over, and it's the 53-year-old Bill Rogers, who's the only American to win both the Boston Marathon and the New York Marathon 4 times each. So we're running together, and we just had a lot of fun together. And to be with him and to run with him was a lot of fun.
Nice. So we actually have, you can see some activity coming down here over Mike's shoulder, but just a great event here today. And we have actually a shot of the women's runner, Emily Sisson, right here coming down the front. And Mike, as she makes the turn here, what are you thinking about Emily Sisson's chance to repeat here at the Gate River Run? She had a phenomenal effort last year, kind of came out of nowhere. What are you thinking of here right now? She made the turn.
I love her chances. She looks great. As we saw last year was her first 15K. She looked great. Obviously built a lot of confidence out of the Olympic trials and the 10,000 meters, and she looks great. She's got a big lead. She's in control. I like Emily's chances.
Nice. That's it from San Marco. Back to Cole and Keith in studio.
All right, Justin, thank you very much. We should point out that Emily Sisson went through her first 5K in 15:38. That, if you project that forward, you're talking about a 48-minute run. That's really moving. Again, that's about what she ran last year when she ran the 5th fastest time in the history of the Gate River Run. And as you can see, some of the elite women starting to get caught off the back of that elite women's pack. On the right side, Galen Rupp leading the men's race right now, along with Leonard Career, Stanley Cabeni, and about a dozen others who are trailing in the wake of the great American runner Galen Rupp's pace right now. And as you look at the the Main Street Bridge, the first of 2 bridges, while you go over the blue, the green is in the back of your mind. These runners have a long way to go, just over a mile into the race. They will be looking forward to the rest of the Gate River Run, as are we. More when we come back. Our coverage of the 45th Gate River Run continues right here on Channel 4. Our shot from Drone 4 there atop the Main Street Bridge. Riders continue to head off on the 45th running of the Gate River Run. And on the left, it is the defending champion, Emily Sisson. And look at the gap she has opened up on this field. On the right, the men starting to work their way through Watley Park and finding their way over toward Atlantic Boulevard. Galen Rupp at the front of the pack. Keith, you noticed something right before we went to break with Galen looking back a couple of times.
Yeah, you know, the pace is quick, not anything that he couldn't handle pretty comfortably, but I also noticed that he was looking behind him a little bit, and that could indicate he's been, you know, kind of giving a warning to somebody clipping his heels, or maybe he's looking for help.
Wondering, hey, anybody going to come with me here?
Anybody going to come with me? And you know, because I think at the end of the day, I think the record's off the table right now, based on the pace right now. So now it's going to turn into a tactical affair of whether or not he can close the gap and win the Equalizer bonus.
Rupp went through the first 5K in 14:27, along with Hillary Bohr, Leonard Carrier, Zach Panning, Nico Montanez, all of the folks who we expected to be in the lead pack. Emily Sisson, though, has put the hammer down on the left. Can she bring it home? More coverage of the Gate River Run still to come right here on Channel 4.
Jake. Yeah.
The defending champion on the women's side, Emily Sisson, running a race looking like Secretariat at the Belmont right now. Nobody anywhere near her. Nobody else in the screen for the second straight year. Emily Sisson has taken control of the Gate River Run as she runs through the St. Nicholas neighborhood. She'll be finding her way back out onto Atlantic Boulevard and then to the Green Monster. We asked her about the Green Monster last year. She said she had to use a lot of positive self-talk to get her up that. It didn't look like she was struggling too much, but she said it was really a tough go with the climb and the wind. She won't deal with the wind this year. On the right is the men's field, and it's starting to break up just a little bit. On the left of the screen there in the blue and green top is Galen Rupp. And a little tactics here, perhaps. As you can see, a few runners going by. There are more than a dozen runners in this lead pack within 2 seconds of one another. And you can see that Rupp is now just sitting on the heels of another runner. He was waiting for somebody to take and start to do some of the hard work to break the wind in front and kind of lead the way.
Well, you're exactly right. I think it's important. And, you know, I may be overthinking this, but I see a little bit of strain on his face. And you know, I think that's telling when you're not even at the 10K mark.
Hillary Bohr there was in the lead for a moment. Rupp went back past Bohr. Bohr is a two-time Olympian in the steeplechase, ran the Gate River Run in 2017, a Kenyan-born runner who has become an American citizen, runs for the U.S. Army. He's one of a handful of runners in this race who have done just that. But this is going to be a tactical finish, I think, to the men's race here, as we can see, not the case on the women's side.
Well, I just want to point out, you know, we always say I'd rather be the hunter than the hunted, and that's what Emily Sisson is going through her mind right now. She is running as fast as she possibly can with no help whatsoever, knowing that there's a pack of world-class distance runners, men behind her, trying to take away $5,000 from her.
And that Equalizer bonus is a big part of this. Again, $10,000 to the winners, and then $5,000 for the first across the line, men or woman, gets that Equalizer bonus. And yeah, the money's nice. But it's the accomplishment, isn't it?
Bragging rights, dude.
Yeah.
It's the best thing you could ever have.
You see the men have just gone past the 10K mark. So we'll get to the splits, the 10K splits coming up here momentarily. Galen Rupp through the 10K mark at 28:52, along with Hillary Bohr. Futsum Zina Selassie is also right there. Colin Benny, Leonard Carrier, the two-time champion. Those are the leaders right now on the men's side. And what a finish this could be. Really, it's two races in one here for Galen Rupp and the men. They are racing against one another. And they also could be racing against Emily Sisson on the left, again, for that equalizer bonus. I think we're going to have something here. We'll see if the men can catch up, because Sisson is just in a groove right now. She's moved back onto Atlantic Boulevard and will head toward the Hart Bridge, the Green Monster, here shortly. When we come back, we'll watch Sisson climb the Green Monster as more runners come down the Main Street Bridge. Our coverage of the 2022 Gate River Run continues right here on Channel 4. We continue our coverage of the Gate River Run here on Channel 4, along with the 1996 Olympic marathoner Keith Brantley. I'm Cole Pepper, and we have, we're now 33 minutes into the men's race, and just a little bit more than that, 39 minutes into the women's race. And you can see on top of your screen there on the top right, Emily Sisson all alone. The men, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the elite men in the lead pack right now, including Galen Rupp, the great American distance runner, running in this race for the first time. And I do think, Keith, we're going to have a run down toward the equalizer bonus. Colin Benny is a name to keep an eye on as well. He has slid to the front of the men's pack, but this is Emily Sisson now starting to make her way toward the Hart Bridge. She is right now running against herself, and she's running against the elite men. And she can't know where they are right now. Of course, she's out there by herself on the course. All she has to track what's going on is her watch, where she can look down to see what her pace is. She's been running just over a 5-minute pace to this point in the race. Galen Rupp, by the way, his 10K split 28:52. So that's about a 14.5-minute pace for this lead group on the right. And Emily Sisson, you can see the elevation now starting to be a factor as she climbs the Hart Bridge.
Absolutely. And you know, again, you know, she is feeling this stress of being hunted, and she's doing everything she possibly can to fight this. But you know, in the end, you know, if you notice, she's also not running the tangents, which I thought that she would absolutely. The second you get on that Hart Bridge, on that river, that up that ramp, you want to go over to the right and then go up over to the left as you drift over. And I'm wondering if that's some sort of tactic she has in her mind, but that would cut off about 10 or 15 yards, and that might be the deciding factor in the race.
You see her going past that flag that marks the 8-mile mark of the race, so 1.3 miles to go, and she is rapidly approaching the top of the Hart Bridge. That's where Jamal St. Cyr has set up shop once again this year. Jamal, it's a familiar sight for you. Emily Sisson all alone coming up that bridge.
Yeah, Emily Sisson alone. This is very similar enough to last year, but one very keen difference that I'm sure she's noticing right now as she makes her way up is that the lack of wind. It's very calm up here. I know you talked a little bit about how she said she needed that positive self-motivation to get up the bridge last year because of the wind. This year, very different. It's very calm. The fog is setting in. We can kind of see her coming through the mist as she kind of makes her way up now, but it's just Emily Sisson up here. It's much easier conditions, or easy when it comes to Hart Bridge standards, or Green Monster standards, if you will. But you can see these lead carts kind of working their way by right now, and Emily Sisson still working her way up the bridge. We should see her kind of coming through the mist here in a moment or two as she continues on her pace toward the finish line. And the one big change for runners this year, of course, is the new Hart Bridge ramp down on the other end. She'll get a chance to experience that. Here we go, Emily Sisson kind of coming through the fog here in the mist as she heads on up. She's finished the descent and the bridge is starting to flatten out for her. It's still just her running all alone, kind of at her own pace, and I'm sure she'll tell us when she gets down to the finish and it's all said and done that this was a much easier journey up this Hart Bridge than it was just a year ago when that wind was really blistering. It was blowing in runners' faces and kind of blowing them around last year. This year, much calmer as she heads into the home stretch of the race and continues toward the finish lines. Now she's in the downhill portion of the Hart Bridge, still all alone, no one else on the bridge, so we'll have to see just how much speed she can pick up as she heads down these new Hart Bridge ramps and on her way to the finish line. Cole, Keith?
All right, thank you, Jamal. We have seen this before with Emily Sisson, as Jamal mentioned. As she was coming up, you saw her pass another flag. That's the 8.3 mile mark, which means it's a mile from the top of the Green Monster to the finish line. As she was coming up the bridge, we were getting word that the lead men were just hitting the foot of the ramp to the Green Monster. Is there enough time for this group of men to catch Emily Sisson here?
You know, in my opinion, I think it's going to be really, really close. I think what's happening now is they're seeing the men's field fracture, and they're not getting as much help from each other. And I think, you know, we've got a real race. You know, what I think is most interesting, Cole, is Galen Rupp is not a factor now.
And he slid to the back of this lead pack.
I believe that's Futsum Zinalasi. Is that correct?
Nico Montanez there in the blue,
okay.
The blue tank top is on the way. He was one of the names that we had mentioned at the top of the broadcast who we would be keeping an eye on. He was the 4th place finisher last year when he ran 43.55. A very good time. Former BYU athlete, as was last year's champion Clayton Young.
Yep, coached by Ed Eyestone,
who has
multiple Olympian.
Yeah, and a guy who's very familiar with this race as well. He qualified for the Olympic marathon trials in 2020. Says his favorite memory as a runner, as a high school sophomore, he was in the porta potty when the starting gun went off for a cross-country meet. He won the race anyway. He did not have that issue this morning, it does not appear.
It's definitely go and go.
That's when you got to go. And so Nico Montanez leading the way for the men, the 28-year-old. And again, 43.55 was his time last year. You see Emily Sisson is now down off of the bridge itself, coming down on those new ramps. You see the darker pavement there showcasing the new ramps that have been built in the last year. And she will have a run down and then a right turn. Once she makes that turn to the right, she will have about 140 yards or so to the finish line. And we'll see if Nico Montanez can catch her for the equalizer bonus. He clearly is the one who made the move here on the Hart Bridge, left everybody, Galen Rupp, Leonard Career, the rest of the men's field behind. And here comes Emily Sisson on the left, weaving her way down what is an on-ramp for traffic, but it's an off-ramp for the Gate River Run. And I don't think there's enough time for Nico Montanez to catch her.
I would totally agree with you. I think that Emily has put together a fantastic race with respect to being able to manage the stress and being able to manage the pace. And the men's field, I think a lot of people who are betting on this race lost a lot of money today.
Emily Sisson, with a mile to go, was at 42.36 as she crossed the top. Last year, she ran just over 5 minutes in the final miles. And if we project that forward for her once again, you're talking about a 47.40 kind of range, which would be one of the fastest Gate River runs in history. That would in fact be the 4th fastest if she continues on that pace, if she can keep it. And here she comes, about ready to make that turn and head down toward the finish line right there of the Gate River Run.
All right, this should be our
Emily Sisson, the defending champ. You can see the time there. That is indicative of the men's field time, so you have to add 6 minutes to the time there on the clock for Emily Sisson. And here she comes, back-to-back winner of the Gate River Run, Emily Sisson, unofficially 46.27, or rather 47.27.
That's impressive. That is very impressive.
That would be the 4th fastest in history for a woman running the Gate River Run. Back-to-back national championships for Emily Sisson, who will drape herself in the Stars and Stripes here in Jacksonville yet again. What a race.
I'm stunned. I am just stunned. I knew how great she was and how fantastic she was in terms of pacing, but the stress to be out there all alone like that again, It's amazing.
And remember, this is the first time she has run since the Olympics. So, back-to-back winners for Emily Sisson. All right, let's check in and see how the men are doing as Nico Montanez has made his way down onto Gator Bowl Boulevard. I believe that's Leonard Career, the closest following him. But again, does not look like there's enough space for Career to catch Nico Montanez. You think there's enough?
I'm going to disagree with you. I think that Nico is in a little bit of trouble. And with the kick that Career and Bonnie have, I would think that is there might not be enough room left.
All right, he's making this right turn right now. And it's about roughly 140 yards.
That just said it all.
He looked back, and here comes Montanez.
And here comes the pack right after him. Oh my gosh, it's not rough.
43-10 unofficially for Nico Montanez.
All right, you guys.
Winning the Gate River Run, and he is the national champion at 15K. The 28-year-old with one of his best wins of his career, finished 4th last year, and he improved as the champion this year, and he left it all out there on the course. As you see Hillary Moore coming over to congratulate him, along with some of the other elite men's runners who have now finished. What a performance by Montanez. I don't know if it was another 100 yards if he would have had enough to finish.
Absolutely not. And I think that they had his number coming in, but he just did it just right. Right when he made the right-hand turn, he looked back and was able to put in a little bit more juice toward the end. 43:09 is the chip time on Nico Montanez. And, of course, the record 42:22 set by Todd Williams. We assumed that was going to be very safe, but that would be just shy of a top 10 fastest time in Gate River Run history. So the weather conditions favorable for some fast times today, and both Emily Sisson and Nico Montanez took advantage. And I would just say, I think that the field was too dependent on Galen Rupp to be able to set the pace early and go after Emily Sisson. I think that maybe Rupp's not in the best shape of his life right now. He's probably getting ready for the World Championships later on in the year.
Rupp finished 7th. He crossed at 43:31. So let's run down the top 10 on the men's side for you in the elite field. Nico Montanez wins at 43:09. 4 seconds back, Leonard Career, the two-time champion. Olympic steeplechaser Hillary Moore at 43:14 was in 3rd. Baya Simbasa in 4th. Colin Benny, Futsum Zena Selassie in 6th. Galen Rupp in 7th, as we mentioned. Zach Penning finished 8th. Matthew McClintock 9th. And Jacob Thompson finishing 10th on the men's side. A number of the names that we expected to see in the top 10 did indeed finish in the top 10. Will be interesting to hear how Montanez saw things play out, particularly as he hit the Hart Bridge and that pack started to stretch and he made his move.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, I think, most people would be stunned that Galen, unless you knew that Galen was not as fit as he needed to be, I think a lot of people are absolutely stunned, and I think that affected the pace early on.
As the elites are finishing, the last wave is starting. These folks, a lot of them will probably be in the, let's call it 2.5 hour range, maybe slightly more than that. Need to be 2.5 hours to the foot of the Hart Bridge. There are some of the slightly faster runners here working their way through San Marco. And these would be the kind of folks who...
This is me and you, Cole.
Well, and I would say if I was
right
looking this good at 4.5 miles, I would feel pretty good about myself.
Yeah.
These are some pretty good runners here. These are not folks who are just out there to party. They're trying to get a number in, trying to put up a time, maybe beat last year's time. There's a pyramid of running. Some are racers, some are running, some are joggers, some are walkers. These are certainly runners who are working on here. Speaking of racing, let us check in with our women's champion for the 2nd straight year. The national championship stays with Emily Sisson. Emily, congratulations. When we talked last week, we asked if you were going to go out and try to put the hammer down early on. Wasn't quite as early a move, but you certainly did stretch out your lead pretty early on here. What was your feeling coming into this race about your strategy for the Gate River Run this year?
Yeah, I talked to my coach after we talked last week, and he told me he wanted me to start out at like 5:05 mile pace and then pick it up after we got over the first bridge. And so that's what I did. I had to factor in the elements. It was pretty humid here today, but most of the elite field was coming from a dry climate, so we were all in the same boat. So I did have to factor that into how I was feeling and how I ran. But yeah, it was a great race. Great first race back since Tokyo, so I'm really pleased with that.
You also mentioned last year that you were curious to see what your last mile would be coming off the top of the Hart Bridge. 4:52 today for you in that last mile. So I think it worked out for you all right.
Yeah, I was really pushing hard. That whole race, I kept counting down until the top of the hill, and then I kept telling myself it's just all downhill from there. So once I crested the top of the bridge, I just was like trying to go as fast as I could because I didn't know how close the men and the women were. So yeah, I was pushing.
Yeah. Emily, this is Keith Brantley, and fantastic race. Give us a kind of a thought process. This is a unique race where you're actually, when the women start out, you're the hunted rather than the hunter. What kind of thought process that, you know, it's stressful just leading a race like this, but knowing that the men are breathing down your neck and you're trying to protect yourself. What's your thought process in that?
I've actually never thought of it that way, but that's a good way to put it, I guess. I try to run so that I'm like pushing and I'm comfortably pushing it, but that I have some save left for when I get to the top of the bridge so that I can really like hammer it home. But yeah, I never really thought about it that way. I guess I am running with like a target on my back because the men start behind us.
And as the defending champion, definitely a target on your back. You and the other two Emilys were at the front pretty early on there. I think you probably had to know that those are going to be two of your toughest competitors coming into the race. At what point did you feel like you sort of had this thing in the bag?
I never feel like I have a race until I cross the finish line. I always want to be prepared that someone's going to just come up on my shoulder last minute. But yeah, it's funny because all three Emilys, we were all coming from Flagstaff, Arizona. And I remember joking with one of them on the plane. I'm like, we should hold this race in Arizona. It'd be a shorter flight. But yeah, no, it's nice. I know them well. They're great competitors. And yeah, they're good people. They're good friends. Yeah.
Finally, Emily, what does it mean to you to repeat as a champion here at this race?
It means a lot, especially coming off such a long time without racing. I haven't raced since the Olympics. And I was telling someone it's a bit of a confidence boost too, because I know I've been training hard, but I haven't raced. I haven't pushed my body this hard in a while now. So it was really good just to get the legs going, like turning over really fast again. And yeah, I'm hoping this is a good springboard for the rest of the year.
Emily, thanks so much for taking some time with us after the race. Congratulations for the second straight year. You are the national champion at 15K.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
That's Emily Sisson. When we come back, we'll hear from the men's champion, Nico Montanez. The Gate River Run continues right here on Channel 4. There's the finish line of the Gate River Run, and for the next almost 2 hours, you'll see folks coming across that line. We've already seen our champions cross that line, Emily Sisson on the women's side, and now we're joined by Nico Montanez, the men's champion, the national champion of 15K. Nico, congratulations. This was quite a race as we followed it. Galen Rupp, of course, being in the field had to be something that was pretty obvious to everybody. Give us a feel for how things went down, particularly as you hit the Hart Bridge.
Yeah, the whole race, I was just making sure I was up there and I was in a position to strike no matter what the circumstances were, who was up there. You know, Galen Rupp was a big focus, of course, but, you know, I knew I had the capability if I had my day that I could run with anybody in the country, and so that was my thought process, just being in the contention, hunting down people. And then when I made this move, it was a move that wasn't a surprise. It was a move that I've been practicing, I've been praying for, I've been thinking about, I've been dreaming about. It's people that believed in me that I could make the move, and so it was just a matter of executing rather than hoping for it. So,
At what point were you ready to make that move? We caught you, it looked like as you started to climb the Hart Bridge, that was when things started to stretch out a bit.
Yeah, I was told to go at the base of the hill. I think I went a little too late, but things still turned out well, so I'm happy about that. But the instructions were a base of the hill, and if I didn't happen to have the result I wanted, I could blame my coach, but that wasn't going to happen. And I think deep down, he knew that. He just wanted to bring out the monster inside of me. So.
Nico, Keith Brantley here. Good, fantastic race. Congratulations. You know, everybody was focusing on Galen Rupp, not just, you know, the runners, but you know, the general public. You know, he's got such a great record. I love the idea that, you know, you had so much confidence. Did you have a sense during the race that he was not quite up to speed as he normally is? And were you able to kind of capitalize on that mentally?
Yeah, you know what? I look up to Galen so much. I know there's a lot of controversy with him, with everything that's happened in his past. But you know what? There was about a week ago where I was watching literally every video of his, learning his mindset, getting ready for the competition, getting ready for what I was about to go up with. This guy's a national champion. He's an American record holder. I mean, he's just done great things. And so my job was to capitalize the second I saw any sort of hesitancy. And I did. I saw hesitancy, and that's when I just try to put him in my rearview mirror, because I know that at any point in the moment, if I give up some, if I show any kind of weakness, he's gonna pummel me. So it was just all about who could trump who at that moment.
That's what earns you a national championship.
Yeah, and we saw the exertion on your face as you made that right turn to head down to the finish line, and we were wondering how much time there would be with Leonard Career and others right on your heels. How much did you have left in the tank when you crossed that finish line?
Not much. That. You know, I was hurting at mile 5, I was hurting at mile 3, and I was hurting until I crossed that finish line. It's just about hurt. Dina Castor, the wife to my head coach, Andrew Castor, says it's supposed to hurt. When you're running a national championship, when you're running the all-out, when you're running your best, it's supposed to hurt. If it's not hurting, there's probably something wrong. So that's just all I could think about, was that I could hurt, and I could hurt for a very long time.
Well, and if anybody would know about hurting in this race and winning, it's Dina Castor, of course, who was a 6-time winner of this race. Now that you've won the national championship, does it change the way you look at this race? I know you were just minutes from you crossing the finish line, but this has to make this one of the bigger races on your calendar.
You know, I'm trying. I love running. It's what I do. It's what I do best, but it's not who I am. And so I've been a national champion 1,000 times over in my head. So to cross that finish line, it's a great glory. It's an honor, but it doesn't necessarily change like who I am and as a person and what comes first in my life. So again, it was awesome to compete against these guys. What a pleasure. But you know, it's just what I do. So it doesn't define me.
Nico, thanks so much for taking some time out. Yeah. Congratulations on the win. Great race today.
Thank you.
You're the national champion, and we really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Nico Montanez, the men's winner of the 2022 Gate River Run. As you see more runners coming across the finish line, we will have more coverage of the 45th running of the Gate River Run still to come. We'll be checking in with the First Coast Cup winners, the top local runners, and we'll tell you a story about a guy who is setting a record today as the oldest runner ever at the Gate River Run. We'll hear from him as we continue our coverage of the Gate River Run. You see folks making the turn at Watley Park in San Marco. Stick around. Plenty more straight ahead right here on Channel 4. You're watching continuing coverage of the Gate River Run on WJXT Channel 4. And you are looking at the finish line of the Gate River Run. It has been less than an hour since the main field began. And we have heard from the national champions on both the men's and the women's side. And we will also hear from the First Coast Cup winners as well, the fastest local runners to come across the line. And we'll do that here in just a moment. Keith Brantley, just some of your thoughts on the two national champions today, Emily Sisson and Nico Montanez, and what they've accomplished.
Well, you know, you couldn't see two more different races. You couldn't see two more different strategies, a tactical race on the men's side. Everybody surrounding Galen Rupp, thinking that he's the one to beat. And then Emily Sisson takes off and ends up destroying the women's field, just like she did last year.
And here is a shot from near the finish line just before, this is on Gator Bowl Boulevard, just before these runners will take a right turn and head down toward the finish line. You can see these are still runners putting on a pretty good pace, talking about some folks who know that they're going to try to put in a big time here. Every year we like to highlight the fastest local runners as well, the First Coast Cup winners, and we are now joined by our First Coast Cup winners, Crystal Davis and Nathan Gibran, who are joining us here. Crystal, let's start with you. Congratulations. I was texting with you earlier this month talking about the preparations for the race. You said you felt like you were in pretty good shape. Were you expecting to come across the line as the First Coast Cup winner?
I always have wishful thinking, but no. It was, you know, you go to every race and you just have fun with it. I try not to be too serious, but definitely put in the work and just hope that, you know, you're able to perform the way you've been training. So I'm very thankful, very blessed. All glory to God. He gives me the strength, and I just do what he tells me to do. So it was fun.
And Nathan, how about you? What about your training pointing to this race? Was this something you were looking for as one of your goals?
Honestly, I talked to my coach before I run for the university in North Florida. We just wanted to treat it like a workout. He said don't go under 5-minute mile pace, so I was just kind of treating it like a training run.
Yeah, pretty good training run as you go through here. Would also mention Crystal, her training. Crystal, I think it's a little unusual, to say the least, of what your traditional training is.
Yeah, yes, sir. I used to, way back when, I used to train with my kids in the stroller. I have two, but now they're too big. They think it's not cool anymore, so I don't push it.
As somebody who's been passed by you, Crystal, you know, with you pushing the strollers, I'm telling you, you leave a wake behind you. You're so fast.
Oh, goodness gracious. I always say they beat me first. I come in third every time, so.
Well, for both of you, congratulations. I want to get a last thought on what it means to you to run what you did today. Crystal, we'll start with you.
Oh, it's such a blessing. It really is. I tell my kids, because it takes time to train. It takes time out of the household. My husband's super amazing. He works around my schedule most of the time, but it's a team effort. So to say that I do it all on my own, it's not possible without family and without support. So I really thank them, because without them I wouldn't be able to go out due to the day and the busyness. So it means a lot. It means a lot to show them that hard work does pay off, and keeping the faith does pay off as well. So just very thankful, and it always feels great, but I stay humble throughout and just know that it was a good race, and until the next one, right?
Yeah, and Nathan, as a Jacksonville native, Bishop Kenny, UNF, you've run a lot in this city. What does it mean to you to win the First Coast Cup?
I agree. It means a lot. Just like how she was saying, it takes a lot of sacrifice. I've been blessed. My family has let me train at the intensity that I've been training. And it's just, I feel blessed to be able to run at this level, just to treat it as a training run and still be able to run this time. It's all glory to God, and I'm truly blessed.
All right, thank you so much. Congratulations to you both, Nathan Gibran from UNF and Crystal Davis with the wins today for the First Coast Cup. We want to get it out to San Marco now as well. Part of this race as well, you have a lot of folks who make a statement in this race, and nobody makes a statement more than the guy who joins Justin Barney and Mike Ryan right now, guys.
Yeah, that's right. Imagine doing the river run just normally. It's tough. Imagine doing it in 40 pounds of firefighter gear like Mr. Eric Proswimmer is doing. You're doing it. Mike Ryan is going to take this interview away. He's got special connection to Mr. Eric here.
Eric, we've done a lot of races together. I know how tough you are, but tell the viewers, how difficult it is to run with 40 pounds of fire gear?
Well, it's not easy. It's something mind over matter. You got to push yourself, and you got to stay in shape.
Well, yeah, I know you're a humble guy and you're playing it that way, but tell us, 20 years ago, this is the 20th year you've run with full fire gear. Why run in fire gear for the river run?
So after 9/11, people don't realize how much it took physically for those firefighters to get up 80, 90 flights of stairs in gear, carrying equipment to save thousands and thousands of people. So my thing was, I wanted to honor them, and I wanted to stay in shape. So I've done it every year since. This is my 20th year. I'm retiring in another 5 years. I'm going to try to get 5 more in and see if I can do 25 before the end of my career.
Very, very admirable, and obviously a great event and a tribute to some people that are very justified for that. I know you've had some great comments from fellow runners and spectators along the course in these 20 years running with Fire Gear. Any special memories or comments that you hear from them?
Well, you know, it's amazing. Every year you hear something different. The outpouring of support is incredible. 9/11 heightened people's awareness of first responders, of firefighters, of policemen, and they've been very grateful. Nothing but inspiration, you know. People use you as a tool to keep going. They say, if you can do it in that, then I can do it. And they push themselves. They're not sitting on a couch. They're taking care of their bodies and they're doing what they need to do. So it's very rewarding.
Well said. I know you're a father of 5 and you in Jacksonville. What does this race in the River Run itself and the fitness coming out of a pandemic mean to the city of Jacksonville?
I love this city. I've worked for this city. I've committed my career to this city. My family's been raised here. It's a great city. The people are wonderful. This is a great event, you know. I wish I was a streaker. The streakers inspire me every year. They're unbelievable. I didn't move here until it had started, but I'm going to keep going. It's a great event.
Well, 20 years with Fire Gear, that's a streak well in and of itself.
Thanks, Mike.
Cole?
Mike, thank you very much. Yeah, well, you see some things out there on the River Run. There's a guy Kerry Hepler, who runs with a model of the Hart Bridge, as a fundraiser for charities that collect shoes for the homeless. And then you see guys with full fire gear, and you wonder how in the world are they doing that. Eric was nice enough to stop and take a little break with us there. Maybe not the worst thing he ever did, to take a little break halfway through the run.
I was carrying 40 pounds, and you know, I've participated in a few of these building run-ups and competing against some of the firefighters that are running in full gear. They are tough.
Just amazing. All right, we'll take time out. When we come back, we'll head back out onto the course. Lauren Verno and Julie Stackhouse will give us their perspective when we return. This is the Gate River Run on Channel 4. Welcome back to the Gate River Run 2022 edition. Our champions, Emily Sisson and Nico Montanez, have won national titles. Our First Coast Cup winners, we heard from a moment ago, Crystal Davis and Nathan Gibran. Let's head back out to the course and check in once again with Lauren Verno and Julie Stackhouse. The energy a little different right now than it was about an hour ago, guys.
We're about to run out of men's health. I mean, it is insane right now. Julie will tell you right now, everybody coming through, we will say that we can tell the humidity was a factor today.
Absolutely, Lauren. I kind of take back what I said at the start line about wishing I was running right now. No, it's so exciting. I mean, but yes, people are soaked. Like, the humidity was absolutely a factor. So, but we have 2 races going on today.
We have 2 races because you'll see people are still moving and grooving. That's because they're trying to get that 10% finisher hat, and I think they're giving out the last few. Julie, do you want to explain what exactly those hats are and show our people?
Sure, yeah. So I always say, you know, there's a national championship going on, and then there's a local race for those hats. And literally, people are running by us through the finish line going for these hats. I've got a couple athletes here that I'm fortunate to work with, and they've earned some hats today.
All right, guys, what does it mean when you finish it and you get that hat because you know you made the 10%?
Feels good. I mean, it was a hot day. It was a hard race, but it's over. It was done. It was fun.
All right, I'm coming in here because I need to feel this energy. What is the energy at the top of the Green Monster?
You're just happy that you're up. Yeah. The energy's better at the top.
The energy's better at the top. It's keeping going. All right, we are going to toss it back to you in the studio because I want you to see. Look at the last hats. Everyone is freaking out right now. Cole, we are not getting you a hat. I apologize.
I have not earned one. I would not wear a hat that I have not earned with that top 10%. But that is a badge of honor for local runners. There's no doubt about it. For some, that's the goal. For some, that's a must. One of the 3 runners are David Faraday on the right there, a longtime employee at JU in the athletic department, and a guy who is very competitive into his 60s, continues to run and do a great job. He's certainly a hat earner again this year. By the way, the supply chain impacting the Gate River Run again. because, like everything else, things are not necessarily tracking the way they have been. So they asked those who won a hat to hold off on picking up a finisher's medal this year. You'll get your medal later once the supply chain solves itself, but they weren't able to get all the medals in that they had ordered because it had been so tough to get things shipped in here. Now, the hat is a top 10%, not necessarily a record, but there are some records being set today. There's no doubt about that. There are 20 runners 80 years or older who are registered for the 15K and the Gate River Run, including one who is setting a record as the oldest runner ever at the Gate River Run. This is what a running legend looks like. At least he should be thought of as a legend. Augie Leone did a bit of running in his 40s, but never took it seriously until his 70th birthday began approaching. At 69 years old, he joined a marathon training group, and as a birthday gift to himself, he ran a marathon.
It was on January the 9th, and my birthday was January the 8th, so it was one day after my 70th birthday.
And just like that, Leone had the running bug.
I literally was in tears when I finished. I was so excited. And, of course, my wife was there. She said, well, that's your only marathon? And I said, no. As bad as I felt, I said, no.
Since turning 70, 22 years ago, Leone has run 46 marathons, including Boston 3 times, 36 half marathons, and only missed the Gate River Run once when he and his wife were on a cruise.
You know, the Hart Bridge is fantastic. Walking up the Hart Bridge, you know, you realize you're pushing yourself. And that's what distance running learns. You just got to push yourself at the end, and you learn how to cope with it. You know, it's just part of running.
As a former engineer, he keeps fastidious notes on his past races. His medals and plaques are hung in his house. He has so many of them, some have to live in the garage, where he also keeps all of his race bibs, each with notes on that particular race. Leone has the age records at the Gate River Run for 80 years old, 81, 82. In fact, he has every age record over 80 except 84 and 87. Last year, he finished in 2 hours, 34 minutes, and 17 seconds, and he figures he'll have about the same time this year. How can he keep doing it?
I feel like the only reason I'm still doing it is because I took on a healthy diet. And that prevents you from getting the illnesses that stop people from running. Mainly heart disease, high blood pressure. I'm proud to say I take no prescriptions, never have. And you know, that's exceedingly rare. It's called nutritarian. Google the word nutritarian. And the principle is very simple. Eat only the most nutritious foods. Nobody can argue over that. But it's very difficult to follow.
Augie says he's going to keep running. He can't see an end to it. At 92 years old, he's in incredible shape for a guy of his age. You mentioned his diet, what he eats, very much a plant-based diet. When I saw him at the expo this week, huge smile on his face. He loves this. This is such a big part. And he's got, you know, a couple dozen races over the next year that he's going to be running.
Well, absolutely. You know, and ironically, he has a head start on a lot of people starting running at 70, whereas some people who started in their 20s and 30s, I mean, you know, their joints may wear out. You know, you can't choose your parents. And you know, at the end of the day, if you've got issues with your knees and things like that, you know, he's got a head start right now. He's probably going to be running when he's 100.
Unbelievable. Great story. I'm dubbing him the Jacksonville legend. To run at 92, once he crosses that finish line, he will set the record for the fastest and only 92-year-old run at the Gate River Run. He said he's going to start in the back of the field, so again, around 2.5 hours for Augie. We'll keep an eye on that and follow up throughout the course of the next week after he crosses, and get a chance to circle back with him, see how his Gate River Run treated him here in 2022. You see the Gate River Run finish line. You'll see a lot more folks coming in now together in groups, in packs. It's spread out when you talk about the top runners and then the top local runners, but now you've got folks who are all running in similar times coming across here, some of them in about 1 hour and 17 minutes. Our coverage of the Gate River Run continues right here on Channel 4. The Gate River Run continues here on Channel 4. You're taking a look at the finish line, the new finish line this year. We thought there may be some drama with the new finish line. Didn't really happen because of the runs of Emily Sisson and Nico Montanez, our national champions. Let's head back out to San Marco and Watley Park, where Justin Barney and Mike Ryan are standing by. Guys, still going to see a lot of runners coming through, but I can hear the band has struck up there.
The band has been going loud and proud all morning. It's great to have this for these runners going by. Runners are celebrating for the band, giving them thumbs up every time they pass, so it's good to see that interaction out here. But you know, the portion of the race now, it's runners may have just watched this event on TV last year, may have not taken part in a river run before. That's the group that's coming through right now, maybe the non-traditional, non-competitive runners. The most unforgiving part of this race is coming up the Hart Bridge in about 3.5 miles from here, these flat neighborhoods here. Mike, what does it say about these runners, the casual runner who has maybe not done this race before, don't take running as serious as the Emily Sisson type of runners? What can they learn from an event like this, maybe the first timers out here for that first time on this course?
Well, first of all, I give them a lot of credit because this is not an easy race to do, and there's a record number of first-timers in this race. So I think, like you said, a lot of people in this race today were watching it last year, so they got off the couch and did it, which is amazing. But most of these runners here put in, on average, about 30 to 35 miles a week of training. It takes about a 3-month window to get ready for this race. So these people have sacrificed a lot just to get to the starting line. And a lot of credit to them. And you can see a lot of smiling faces behind it. They're not worried about the time. They're worried about having fun.
That's right. It's good to see so many of these first-timers here. They probably don't have an idea of what's coming with that Hart Bridge in about 3.5 miles. But nonetheless, so many smiles, so many runners out here today celebrating maybe their first time at a river run opportunity. Cole, back to you.
All right, thank you, guys. Well, you can really see how the humidity impacted this race with some of these runners coming in to the finish line. And more coming in, some taking selfies as they come in. That's a pretty good trick, but you see this look back up the off-ramp of the Hart Bridge. More of the Gate River Run. When we come back, plenty of runners still to tackle the Green Monster this morning at the gate. Welcome back to the Gate River Run. There's a great shot of the Green Monster. And you see runners coming down off the top. Once you hit the top, you have a mile to go until the finish here at the Gate River Run. You can see in the background still a lot of fog in the area as well. Danielle Giuliano joins us. Danielle, this fog, is it going to burn off anytime soon?
We will start to see the fog lift, but they did extend from the I-95 corridor east this dense fog advisory until now 11 a.m. this morning. So visibility will improve, but still very, very foggy out there. And we can see that. We just saw it along Green Monster there, and now we're seeing it from our downtown area. And again, it's the I-95 corridor and east that they have extended that dense fog advisory until 11 a.m. this morning with that very low visibility. And you can see that here, downtown area, 1/4 mile of visibility. Now down on ground level, you can see pretty well. It's when you get higher up that you start to see those lower visibilities. 1/2 mile of visibility in Jacksonville Beach, 3/4 of a mile of visibility there in Ponte Vedra. And again, that goes until 11 a.m. this morning. Visibility improving. Keystone Heights, 9 miles, 10 miles in Lake City, 2 miles though low in Waycross right now so far this morning. The winds right now for those runners out there, if we're looking towards the downtown area, these two closest readings are anywhere from 3 to 6 miles per hour. So that is some good news. It may pick up a little bit, a little higher as they go on the bridge, anywhere probably from 6 to 10 miles per hour, but still on the lower side, which is good. Temperatures still sitting with us in the low 60s, 62 in Jacks Beach, 63 in Arlington, 62 Jacksonville at the airport, 61 there in Brunswick, 61 in Waycross, and 64 degrees in Lake City right now. And temperature trend as we head throughout your morning. By 10 a.m. those temperatures in the upper 60s, and then we start to reach those 70s as we head into the lunch hour, and then through mid-afternoon we start to warm things up into the low 80s as sunshine comes out in full force. Heading into the evening, temperatures dipping down into the 60s. So maybe you're not running today, but maybe you want to head down to the beach, or maybe head to the beach after your morning run for the Gate River Run. Air temperature 70s, water temperature 60s. UV index will be high. Sunscreen is a must with a moderate rip current risk. Surf, you're looking at 2 to 4 feet for today. Also something to note for those allergy sufferers, we are heading into a high pollen count as we head through this weekend. So make sure you pay attention to that. You maybe want to open up the windows and the doors because of the nice weather, but just keep in mind that you're letting all those pollen and allergens into your home when you do that. Live Exact Track 40 radar calm and quiet. Again, we still have that dense fog advisory for our coastal locations now until the 10-11 o'clock time frame. Also, what we're talking about is drought. It has been very dry out there, and we're watching for increased fire danger as we head through our weekend. So we're going to be watching that very closely. Rain doesn't actually return into our forecast until middle of the next week here, heading into next weekend. And as we take you hour by hour, sunshine is going to fill our skies as you head through your weekend. If you pass in clouds here and there, but overall a beautiful forecast. Today forecasting that high morning dense fog, 81 degrees as you head through the afternoon, 83 degrees for your Sunday, Monday 86 degrees, staying dry and warm. Winds picking up later on this afternoon and staying breezy with us through about Monday. Then Tuesday, that's when the showers return into our forecast, 82 degrees Wednesday, Thursday 78 degrees, and Friday back down into the mid to lower 70s, sitting at 74 degrees. But the good news is, Culpeper, it's going to be pretty nice weather for those runners to finish out their race.
All right, thank you, Danielle. We appreciate that. Certainly a little bit of cloud cover always appreciated, not only for the runners, but for those who are just hanging out watching the race. Speaking of which, let's check in with Lauren Verno and Julie Stackhouse one more time there at the finish line, guys.
Hey, all right. So we've been watching everyone come by, and we found our mayor. So we figured we'd catch you. We haven't given him any second to breathe or have water, so we're sorry. But how was it?
Look, the humidity was high, but it was great to be back. You know, after a couple years of all this COVID stuff, we had a full crowd here today. People were out having fun, and you know, I don't run marathons, so this is a really long race for me. And you know you're alive when you do this, especially when you hit that bridge.
He said he didn't train for this, actually. His daughter just asked him. And where's your daughter right now?
She's still running.
Yeah.
That's how we roll. She gets it.
What's it like, though, to see the crowd back?
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's just a reminder of how dark things were 2 years ago this time. So it's good to be back. I'm glad that everybody's here. And you hear people around us getting sick right now. I just heard it. I just saw somebody get sick. That's the humidity.
We're not going to talk about that. Go get some water. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye. Julie, biggest takeaways from today?
Absolutely. He just said it. You know, I said it early on. We were standing on the line. It's back. And this race kind of is the benchmark, right? You know, it was the beginning 2 years ago. And so it's just great to see everybody celebrating that today. There's a celebration in the air.
And it's, you know, we've seen the elite. We saw the people who won. But at this point, you're a winner if you finish.
Absolutely. And if you're at home and you're watching and you're thinking about signing up for next year, you just got to do it.
Where do you even start? Because it can look pretty intimidating. What is your recommendation to someone who wants to start?
Well, despite what our mayor just said, I would recommend starting with a basic training plan. And, you know, the great thing about this city is it really is a tremendous running city. So there are running groups every day of the week. I lead one, but they're in all parts of town. And so, you know, if your goal really is to get a hat or to run a specific time, then maybe you need a coach. If not, just find a buddy or just get a pair of running shoes and, you know, start with walking.
Yeah, start walking. That's all that matters. All right, again, Julie Stackhouse, we've been live here at the 45th Annual Gate River Run. We'll be right back.
There we go. The off-ramp of the Hart Bridge, and the relief and pain at the same time on the faces of some of these runners as the finish line nears at the Gate River Run. By the way, we've just checked in. Augie Leone, the 92-year-old, has gone through his 5K and is approaching the 10K mark of this 15K. So we'll keep you updated on how Augie does as well. Of course, it's not just about the records that are set. It's also about the people who are involved in this race. Jamal St. Cyr joined us on top of the Hart Bridge. Jamal, there are a lot of people that put a lot of effort into putting this event on each and every year.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of runners out here and participating are definitely a big part of what makes the River Run great, but they all encounter some of the volunteers that help to put on the race. As the build-up, as we got ready for things, we got to encounter and talk to two of the longer tenured volunteers, Ken and Marie, as they go into 20-plus years of helping put on the Gate River Run. The Gate River Run is the largest 15K in the nation, with thousands of runners participating every year. But it's thanks to the hard work of the volunteers behind the scenes like Ken and Marie Bendy that things run so smoothly. Ken and Marie have been volunteering with the Gate River Run for over 20 years. What is it that makes volunteering with the River Run so much fun?
I guess meeting all the people and talking to them year after year, the ones that come in and they pick up their packet and they say, oh, you're here again, and things like that.
Are you ready over there on the shirts? Yeah, let's hear it. Are you ready down here on the numbers? Okay. Are you ready over there? All right, we're going to let them in.
Ken is always ready come River Run week. He plays the role of problem solver for many of the runners as they pick up their race information. And he's literally run into all kinds of problems.
Or the people who say, I forgot my shoes, what'll I do? I had one come in one time and said the dog ate my chip. And he had the chip the dog had eaten.
While the work they do behind the scenes can be hectic, Marie and Ken say they enjoy every moment of it and will keep volunteering with the River Run until it's just not fun anymore.
Well, kind of a payback for everything the River Run has done for us and running has done for us. It's been a great time. You got great people out here as volunteers. I got great workers, So it's just a great time.
Ken and Marie definitely love what they do helping out with the River Run. Marie is going to be coming across the Hart Bridge at some point after she wraps up volunteering. She walks the River Run, so she'll be making her way through this crowd here on the Hart Bridge at some point before the race is over with today. So a lot of people making their way through the Hart Bridge, and they're getting to the downhill portion now. You can tell that they're very relieved to be heading toward the home stretch of the race. Your River Run coverage on Channel 4 will continue coming up right after the break.
Welcome back to our coverage of the 45th Gate River Run here on Channel 4. More runners sprinting to the finish line down at TIAA Bank Field. We mentioned earlier 92-year-old Augie Leone, who we introduced you to. He's gone by his 15K or his 5K mark on this 15K, so he's out on the course. But he's not the only one searching for a record here today. In fact, Keith, we'll talk about him here after we introduce him, but a guy who is in his 70s now and just continues to put up age records at the Gate River Run. And he knows a little something about how the whole race and training impacts the heart. If there's anyone who knows how the body responds to running in the Gate River Run, it's Paige Ramazani. Not only does Ramazani hold records at 5 ages at the Gate, but he's also a cardiologist at the Florida Heart Clinic. Ramazani set age records at 66, 67, 68, 69, and 70 years old. Now 72, he'll be trying to set another age record today. The current mark was set in 1990. Ramazani says he didn't realize he could be a good runner until a friend in his neighborhood convinced him to enter a race.
So he said, Paige, why don't you run a race? I said, no, man, I'm a cardiologist. I want to just do a little casual run. He said, no, you're really a good runner. You have a gene for running. Go ahead, get a race. And I said, no, I won't want that. He said, well, I signed you up for a race. He signed me up for Ortega River Run. So we went there, and I casually ran the race. And lo and behold, I won the race. And I said, what? What's going on here?
When you visit his office in Orange Park, you can see how proud Ramazani is of his running accomplishments. Medals, plaques, and photos of his Gate River Run history are everywhere. And he says running has made him not only healthier, but a better person.
Running basically revolutionized my life. It really did. You know, because when I run, I'm sure a lot of people, the runners, you know, when you're running in your usual path, you kind of get into some kind of a cocoon of concentration. You start thinking about things, you know what I mean? And then when you're doing that, it's so awesome because there is creativity, there is gratitude, there is all kind of mental exercises that comes to you and basically makes you a better individual, you know? Make you a better person.
Unlike some with the running bug, Ramazani doesn't travel outside of the Jacksonville area to run races. He says he prefers to be close to home in case his patients need him. And he also discourages runners from racing in marathons because of the potential danger to the heart and arteries. But a half marathon or a 15K like the Gate River Run are A-OK with the doctor, especially when he's setting records.
I wasn't really looking for being a best runner or running, beating the records and so on and so forth. I don't see myself at the level of all these guys that run these races that for their age and won their age group, like, Bill Rogers. Bill Rogers is a friend of mine, and he is awesome. Obviously, he's the best. But I never felt that, or thought that I'm going to be in this list. I take it as an honor. Yeah. I take it as a blessing. I really do.
Such a approach of gratitude for Pedro Ramazani there. By the way, he has just crossed the finish line in 1 hour 6 minutes 46 seconds, breaking the old mark for a 72-year-old in this race by nearly 3 minutes, which is a ton of time. Absolutely. That is a huge record breaker. And he lived in your neighborhood. Yeah, you know him very well.
Absolutely. I used to see him running every day, and I was fortunate enough, I was a little bit faster than him back in the day, but in the last couple of years, he'd pass right by me like I was sitting still, and he's smooth as silk when he runs.
Yeah, and a guy who just does, he gets so much out of running. For a guy who didn't really start until after he had started his career in medicine. Wasn't a runner in high school, wasn't a runner in college, but we're seeing more and more folks be able to run deeper into their lives if they start later.
Starting running when you're 70. I mean, there's no barriers to this. I think if you want to stay fit, it's just a matter of you getting out there and doing it yourself. As
we have said before, in the sport of running, as in most things, you get out of it what you put into it. And Pedro Ramazani has certainly put a lot into the sport of running and the activity of running as well. All right, let's head back out to San Marco. Mike Ryan and Justin Barney are there, guys. Things starting to clear up a little bit, looks like.
Yeah, thinning out a little bit here, but it has just been an absolutely beautiful day. The runners, smiles on their faces. It has just been a perfect morning. Not too hot, not too cold, no drizzle, no rain. It is just a beautiful, picturesque day. And, we talked before about the record number of first-time Gate River Run entrants in this year's race. And that first-timers means first-time recovery time, exactly. Mike. So, with your history as an athletic trainer and the background that you have, what are the recommendations that you can give runners who are maybe going to come home and soak in a bath, wonder out what they're going to do to recover from this 9.3 mile experience?
It's a great question, Justin. It's a real important one because the recovery of something like this is a daunting distance, 9.3 miles. And although the downhill of the Hart Bridge is only 5% of this race, it beats you up more than most of the rest of the race. So that your quad's going to take a beating, the hamstrings, the knees. So I tell people to get on the rollers. Rollers really important to kind of loosen up those muscles. Focus on 3 muscle groups: quads, hamstrings, and calves. And also the hydration the rest of the day. I like to say 50% water, 50% Gatorade, and 50% beer. Get the fluids in you is really important. And also the stretching. And this is something that kind of surprises people, but after a big race like this, I tell them for tomorrow morning to get out to do a short run, believe it or not. Because do what makes you sore, which is the running and getting out there, even if it's an easy stride through the park, or get out there and move and do a little bit. But what you do today with the rolling, the easy running tomorrow, the hydration, eating well, what you do today and tomorrow morning, it's going to make Tuesday morning and Wednesday morning a lot more comfortable getting out of bed.
That's great advice. And if you have considered doing the Gate River Run before and just been kind of scared off by the distance or the Hart Bridge, don't do it. I mean, get out and take a chance on it. See, I mean, there's walkers. There are people taking it very lightly in these back roads. And, I think it's a good chance to get back and take a chance on the Gate River Run next year. Cole, Keith?
All right, great points there. Keith, if you were going to suggest to somebody who has never done the Gate River Run, here we are a year from the next one, what do you tell them to do to start ramping up? This is more than enough time to get ready, isn't it? Absolutely.
If you first of all, make sure you got a medical clearance. If you've got some sort of, history of cardiac issues in your family, you need to, get with a doctor and assess that. That's number one. Number two, start easy. Start with a walking program. If you've never run before, start with walking. It's the easiest way to do it. I'm actually walking now 8 to 10 miles a day with my dogs, and it's just to keep me in shape. And I'm actually have lost weight. So I know I could go out and run a 15K right now just based on my walking.
It's amazing. You think about how far 9.3 miles feels. You think about it until you run it. You said a couple weeks ago to me that if you can run a 5K, you can probably run a 10K. And if you can run a 10K, you can run the 15K.
Absolutely. It's taking it in little pieces. It's how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, one 5K at a time. And then if you focus in on that, the 15K distance is manageable. It's easy. It's just like eating little pieces at a time.
It is a great event in our community, whether you're running for a time or just to finish or to enjoy the 9.3 miles with friends in the neighborhood. Great event. We urge everybody to think about getting involved next year. Make that a goal for 2023. There were 22 streakers signed up for this event. A streaker, somebody who has run in every Gate River Run. Last year 25, this year 22. We'll get an update on how many finish after the race is over. Those are really the history markers of this race as well. The numbers are dwindling, as you can imagine, but we do have a lot of runners out there who are, many of them are just run walking at this point or just walking, but who have competed in every Gate River Run so far.
Absolutely. When I first ran in the river run, I'm not a streaker, but I ran one of the first river runs back in the late 70s. And, it's amazing to think that somebody has run this race every single year. It's just a fantastic accomplishment.
1978, the start of the Gate River Run, and it's stronger than ever, one of the biggest fields this year in several years. Of course, last year, the field limited by COVID protocols. You see more of the runners coming down, including those two in the stroller who are going to finish in front of Mom. And you don't see too many strollers out there. It's generally sort of thought of as to keep them out of the way. But if you're going to start in the back. A lot of these will be folks who ran and walked both. But once you get close to the finish line, you start to feel that adrenaline and you use up everything you have in the tank, as did Nico Montanez, our men's winner, national champion today. Emily Sisson on the women's side. Let's show you Emily Sisson's finish today as she came in for the second straight year with plenty of gap behind her. At 47:27 was the fourth fastest time in the history of women running the Gate River Run. What do you think now about Emily Sisson's performance in back-to-back years?
Well, first of all, based on the humidity today, it was a lot higher than we predicted. That is a fantastic time. But I keep saying this, is that it is so stressful to be out there, number one, leading with a huge gap like that, but two, knowing that there's a pack of men that are coming after you to try to take away that $5,000, that Equalizer bonus. So it's the stress, and also, she hadn't run since the Olympics. So how do you know where you are? It's just amazing that she was able to pull it off.
There is something about training, even intense training, as she has been doing in the American Southwest. There's another thing about training and then running in competition, which is something that, as you mentioned, she had not done since the 10,000-meter finals at the Olympics. And today, she made a big splash getting back to the competitive side of running. On the men's side, Nico Montanez able to outkick Galen Rupp and others. Leonard Carrier was second. Hillary Bohr third, but Montanez, as we talked to him afterwards, said he has great respect and regard for Galen Rupp. He was watching videos of Rupp's races, but he was ready to make a move once he hit the foot of the Hart Bridge.
Well, this just goes to show you that it doesn't matter what you've done prior to the start of the race. It's what you're doing on the start of the race. With Galen Rupp's history, his legacy, I mean, you're standing there really as one of the best distance runners, arguably of all time in America. And he, everybody was watching him, and everybody was focused in on him except Nico. Nico had his number today.
Yeah, 28-year-old Nico Montanez went right by the 35-year-old legend Galen Rupp, and he has been crowned as the national champion at 15K. More runners, including another young one getting some hydration, coming down the final couple hundred yards of the Gate River Run as we look back up the ramp to the Hart Bridge. There'll be finishers coming in over the next hour and a half or so. We'll be keeping an eye out for Augie Leone at 92 years old, looking to finish the River Run and set a record in his age group as well. More to come right after this here on Channel 4, News4Jax.com, and News4Jax Plus. We're continuing our coverage of the 45th Gate River Run here on Channel 4. Final couple of minutes here. There'll be more runners coming in and crossing the finish line. You see arms raised in some cases. There's a group of ladies running together. Keith, that's one of the things about those who are not necessarily competing for prize money or specific times or First Coast Cups. To run with your friends, to have that supportive group of runners really makes a difference in your training and in your experience.
It really does. And I mean, with training, misery loves company, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to get out there with some folks, and my wife, Kim Pwellick, she, has a little running group in St. Augustine, and they were out there the other morning. I got up early, and I heard people talking at 4:30 in the morning, and I'm like, what are you guys doing out here? Oh, we're doing interval workouts. So misery definitely loves company, but it's that camaraderie during a race, too, that helps you get through it.
Not just during the race. You talk about, shared agony and training. And for those who finish here, if you're finishing up with your friends, even if you're wearing the cowboy hat on the run, as that guy is, looking good, there is such a sense of accomplishment at the end of the race. I don't care if it's a 5K, an 8K, a 5-miler, a half marathon, a marathon, whatever. When you finish, there's a sense of accomplishment. Some will not have the time that they want today. Some will have set PRs today, but to finish the line, come across the line is a big accomplishment. Excuse me. All right, here's a one last look at our winners. On the left, the women. On the right, the men. Emily Sisson took charge early. Nico Montanez in the light blue tank top. You see him hanging there right behind Galen Rupp. He made his move at the foot of the Hart Bridge. Sisson, you can just see the gap continuing to stretch and stretch and stretch. And she really eased her way in. You say eased her way into the fourth fastest time, but she had plenty of distance between not only her and the second place woman, but between her and the men chasing.
Absolutely. And again, it shows the class of the field, but I think again, Nico's performance was maybe not as fast comparably, but from, being able to push back one of the best distance runners in the United States, in history of the United States, is really an accomplishment.
Well, we appreciate you joining us for our coverage of the Gate River Run. More coverage on News4Jax.com. Thanks for watching the Gate River Run on Channel 4.